Random House Audio presents Fatal by Michael Palmer. Read for you by Henry Levya. It had started with a sore throat. Natty Serwanga remembered the exact moment. She'd been having dinner with her husband Eli when some green beans hurt her going down. At the time, the two of them were talking about whether Nadine would be a better choice to name their daughter than Colette. The discomfort was the beginning of a cold, she thought, nothing more. But despite treatment from the doctors in the clinic, the sore throat had gotten progressively worse. Now, 9 days after that first scratchy pain, Natty knew she was sick. Really sick. The pounding headache told her so. So did the chills and the sweats and the fiery swelling in her throat despite the antibiotics. And beginning at 3 this morning, there was the cough. Across the raised glass counter, the kids from the hospital daycare center were lined up for lunch. Chicken nuggets and spaghetti. Pudding for dessert. Winking at an adorable 4-year-old named Harold, Natty forced a few drops of saliva past the burning in her throat and filled his plate. A moment later, without enough warning even to raise her hand, she was jolted by a vicious, racking cough, the worst yet. Droplets of her saliva sprayed over the contents of the trays in front of her. She stumbled back but caught herself before she actually fell. "Damn," she muttered, regaining her equilibrium. Instinctively, she slid her hands beneath her apron and pressed them against her womb. Despite the headache and the cough and the hot coals in her throat, Natty Serwanga smiled. At 40, married 7 years, she had begun to believe it was her sad destiny to remain childless. Then the miracle. "Natty, are you okay?" Supervisor Peggy Souza eyed at her with concern. Natty's smile this time was forced. I'm fine," she managed. "It's just a cold that doesn't want to dry up. I've been to my obstetrician twice." "He give you something?" "First penicillin, then something stronger." She decided to leave out the part about sending her to an infection specialist if she wasn't better soon, or all the questions about the trip she and Eli had just taken to see his family in Sierra Leone. The next 10 minutes were a blur of pain and poorly suppressed coughing. Still, Natty managed to finish serving the children and even to make a dent in the staff. Now, in addition to the unremitting pain, she was experiencing spasm and fullness in her rectum. "Please, God, take care of my baby. Don't let anything happen to her." "Natty! Natty!" "Huh? Oh, sorry, Peggy. My mind just wandered." "You were just standing there staring off into space. I think you need to stop for the day and... Natty, look over here at me." "What?" "Your eyes. They're all spotted with blood." A sudden strangulating tightness in her rectum made it impossible for Natty to speak. Panicked, she nodded, then hurried as best she could to the restroom. She hobbled into the stall. Her clothes were drenched with sweat. A vice-like cramp in her lower belly was followed immediately by explosive diarrhea. Heavy drops of perspiration fell from her forehead. "Eli, oh, honey, I'm so sick." Natty struggled to her feet. Behind her in the bowl was a hideous mix of stool and curdled blood. More blood. All she could think of was the baby. Eli would know what to do, she thought. He was always the calm one. The phone in Peggy's office, she could call him from there. Lurching from side to side, imbalanced by her pregnancy, Natty braced herself against the wall and moved ahead. Sweat was pouring down her now, stinging her eyes and dripping off her nose. Twice she was stopped by rib-snapping salvos of coughing. "Natty! Natty, just lie down right there. I'll call the ER. Jesus, look at her." Peggy's voice seemed to be echoing through a long tunnel. "My baby." Natty sank to one knee as pain exploded in her head. A white light bathed the inside of her eyes. She felt her bowels and bladder give way at the moment her neck snapped back. She knew she was falling, but there was nothing she could do about it. "She's having a seizure. Call the ER." Peggy's words were the last thing Natty heard before a darkness mercifully washed away the pain. Belinda, West Virginia. Matt, this is Laura in the ER. Matt? Yeah? Matt, you're still asleep. I'm not. You are, I can tell. Time's it. 2:30. Matt, please turn on a light and wake up. There's been an accident at the mine. Matt Rutledge groaned. Oh, friggin' mine, he muttered. Dr. Butler has activated the disaster protocol. Matt, are you awake? I'm awake. I'm awake, he pronounced hoarsely. 9 times 7 is 56. The Miami basketball team is the Heat. The 5th president... Okay, I believe you. From college through medical school and residency, and now into his life as an internist, it had always been a chore for Matt to shut his mind down enough to fall asleep, but not nearly the challenge of subsequently waking up. Laura Williams knew this trait of his as well as any nurse, having worked with him in the ER of Montgomery County Regional Hospital for 2 years before his decision to switch over to private practice. Light on? Feet on the floor? Laura demanded. I'm up. Was it a cave-in? He asked. He sensed a tightening in his gut at even saying the words. I think so. Ambulances are out there, but no one's been brought in here yet. Okay, I'm up and dressed and on my way. Great. The first rescue unit won't be here for a little while, so drive slowly. I know. Motorcycle equals donor cycle. He pulled on his boots. The rest of the team on their way in? All except Dr. Crook. So far he hasn't answered his phone or his pager. Please let it stay that way, Matt thought. Robert Crook was a carriage trade cardiologist, one of the senior medical citizens in the multi-specialty Belinda Medical Group. He had been the most vocal in opposition to Matt's move from the ER into their practice. Ultimately, though, those who thought a well-liked Belinda born and raised, Harvard-trained internist and ER specialist might just help fill the desperate need for a primary care doc won out over Crook. Well, I should be there in 10 minutes. Make it 15. Okay. And Matt? Yes? 9 times 7 is 63, not 56. I knew that. Matt set the phone down, pulled his dark brown hair back into a ponytail, and secured it with a rubber band. For as long as he and Ginny had known one another, he had worn his hair short, not exactly a crew cut, but almost, and by her decree she was the only one allowed to barber him. Since her death, he hadn't done more than trim his sideburns. The stud in his right earlobe had followed a year or so later, and the tattoo on his right deltoid a few months after that. It was a masterful rendering, done from a photograph, of the white-blossomed hawthorn tree in their yard, Ginny's favorite. Matt went to his one-car garage and fired up his maroon Harley Electroglide. In addition to the Hog, he had a 900cc Kawasaki Roadster and a 250cc Honda dirt bike, all of which he could pretty much maintain himself. As he took the 6-mile ride to the hospital, Matt wondered if this latest disaster was yet another monument to the Belinda Coal and Coke Company's cutting safety corners wherever possible. Despite the constant pressure for modernization and improved safety that he and a few other brave souls tried to keep on the mine, little had changed. BC&C was persistently unwilling to do anything but the barest minimum to ensure the well-being of the miners. It was that way with the massive conglomerate today, just as it had been that April night 22 years ago when the ceiling of Tunnel C9 caved in, crushing to death 3 miners, including shift foreman Matthew Rutledge, Sr. The ER at the modern 120-bed Montgomery County Regional Hospital had a patient capacity of 12, including rooms specially equipped for orthopedics and pediatrics, as well as Room 10, the crash suite, for major medical or surgical emergencies. 2 surgeons and a GP were waiting by the nurses' station when Matt arrived. In addition, almost certainly poised over in the lab, was Hal Sawyer, the chief of pathology and Matt's uncle. Hal, part mountain man, part community activist, part playboy, all scholar, was Matt's godfather, and the major reason he had decided on a career in medicine. Over the 20 years since the cave-in of Tunnel C9, Hal had been as close to a father as Matt had. Matt hadn't been in the ER more than a minute when a pickup screeched into the ambulance bay bearing the first casualty. He accompanied 2 nurses to the truck. If the miner, Muddy...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?